Donna. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you here. They keep upgrading the visor this time. Live to be on a teleprompter so I don't forget anything. And we will have wandering microphones going throughout. So if anybody has to ask a question, we're ready to answer those for you. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll throw it out to one of the senior team members that are here. Jeff looks like he's excited to answer questions. I do want to say there are no planted questions. So when I ask if the group has any questions, I mean, do you have any questions? Throw it out on the floor. We want to hear what you have to say. Don't worry about it. Nobody's taking notes to say we're going to get them after for asking that question. If there are planted questions, I'm not aware of it, so it'll be a surprise to me as well. So hopefully there's some questions today. Jason's shaking his head that there's no planted questions. So please give us your name when you ask the question. So like I said, we can make notes and get back to you later now. I don't know why it says that in the prompter. But if you raise your hand, Kimberly and Lisa will come over with the microphone and just say your name. If you're joining us online, they're going to monitor the chat. So if a question comes in, a member of the comms team will ask it. So you have perfect anonymity because they won't know who's asking. And then today's town hall is packed with a lot of excitement and prizes. So you never know when the prize will happen. So, participate as much as you can. And if you're joining virtually or watching this next week, we have prizes, extra prizes for you as well. So don't come here and try to win prizes, then watch it again online and try to win prizes, because that's why we're writing down your names. But before we begin with today's guests, I want to thank our leaders who will be working hard over the next few months because it's that best time of the year. It's budget time. Everybody loves budget times, but we're looking for innovative ways to streamline costs and create revenue. So as you always know, the government never gives us enough money to run a hospital, and they have eliminated all the COVID-19 response monies because COVID's over apparently. So although the rules haven't changed in many areas, the money that funds us to follow the rules has discontinued. So we're looking for innovative ways. So if you think of ideas to save money or be more efficient, you're obviously right on the front lines, a lot of you. So feel free to escalate those ideas to your leaders, and perhaps we can do that. There's a lot of things that the cost of the pandemic, when we think about that, things that we don't need to be doing anymore. If you think about the vaccination clinic, we handed that back to public health at the end of last month because that's a traditional role held by them. So if you see other things that we've started doing for the last 3 years and we sort of forgot it's not really our role, then just remind us about that so we can look for ways to hand that back over to somebody else. So let's get started. So first, I think we're going to talk a little bit about right on the heels of February's hospital-wide accreditation. We decided one accreditation is simply not enough. So we've decided to welcome Stroke Distinction Program surveyors from March the 26th to the 29th. They were here. We don't have the final word yet, but during the debrief, which if any of you had an opportunity to attend the debrief, did anybody have an opportunity here? Is it hours of your life you can never get back? It was a very long debrief. We were all wondering, is it going to stop? Like the whole hospital accreditation debrief was shorter than this, but it didn't stop. It went on for a while, but we did see a lot of check marks on although at the end, like in the whole accreditation, they told us how we did at the end. They gave us a score, and sitting through an hour, we were thinking we were going to get an answer at the end, but we did not. So all that anticipation for a big letdown, but we saw lots of check marks. We didn't see any X's. So congratulations to all the teams, because I can only imagine, sitting through that hour debrief. Well, it was 2 for us because the senior leadership team did it twice. We got the detailed debrief and then the summarized debrief. But I can only imagine how much detail it was for the teams that actually participated in that at the front lines for the surveyors. Thank you very much. So we're still waiting for those results, and we will surely pass them around when we receive them. So thank you very much. And then 2 days later, the very first PET CT scanner in the region touched down at RVH. And I was counting the minutes between the time that it came and how long it took to show up on Heather Gillis's social media feed. And I think it was like 0.5 of a second or something like that, that there was already video and everything up from Heather. Because I don't know where I was, but I was off site and somebody reminded me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to check it. I'm going to check on Heather's social media feed on Instagram and see what it looks like. And I'm not kidding you. It was the first thing that came up in my feed. So that's pretty exciting. The first one in the region. So it's going to make a huge difference to the more than 750 patients who have to travel for this service in the past, or still right now while we build it. And we want to make sure that really our team has the best equipment to be able to do your work every day. So as you notice, right now the scanner has a temporary home in the gathering place until midsummer. It has a little hoarded shell there. I have made jokes. I don't know where Ben is here today, but that maybe that could be turned into the bike safety locker afterwards. We could repurpose it outside or something. But it's going to be there until the midsummer, and we're hoping to have it up and operational in its room, in its place, which is under construction right now, by the fall. So stay tuned. I think that we're going to make use of the hoarding around it to share some patient and team RVH stories to make it look as pretty as possible while it's there all that time. And of course, for those of you that didn't know, and I was one of them until I went through this, is that Saturday is Earth Day. So at RVH, apparently we're always striving to be green, which means incorporating more sustainability and environmental stewardship into our daily practices. And actually in 2021, during COVID, we won the Green Hospital of the Year award with the highest score. Yeah, good job. And top performer of all participating hospitals within our peer group, which is really good because, you know, the only hospitals that would actually participate are those that are actually doing something. So it's pretty hard to beat those who are actually participating at a high level. So just a few of the things we do. We actually, every year to lower our carbon footprints, we have the organic food waste program, an HVAC strategy to help reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, resulting in removing the equivalent of 124 vehicles off the road. If only that took 124 vehicles out of the parking lot, we would have a lot of space here. And then of course, single stream recycling and so much more. So we wanted to give you a chance to celebrate this weekend and have a very special guest to help make that happen. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Green. Woo! There it is. Ooh, Dr. Green has prizes. Make some noise if you want to get him to throw it at you. Honestly. Yeah. Don't fall down. It's only our second time. Yeah. Champion. He is also like just okay. Here it is. 37051. Last three digits are didn't put your okay. Oh, I'll have to put my glasses back on. Life is so hard. 3705138. Oh, woohoo! And a winner! Have to get. I think you can get a picture with your prize. It's not that easy. You don't just get. Primo. You're the best. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Dr. Green. Oh, thank you. Woo! Another RVH t-shirt. Okay. So this week we're also celebrating our volunteer week. I see a lot of blue vests on this side. That's great. And so many of you recognize them by their iconic blue vests. So each of our 285 volunteers generously give their talents to create a welcome and comfortable space for our patients. You should know there's over 4,000 hours they've already done since they've been back. So that's amazing. And I also want to acknowledge and celebrate, our board of directors and our foundation board who invest countless hours as governors. They get to read all the exciting material we send them every month for their meetings. They're super excited about it. Along with the members of our Patient and Family Advisory Council, all who are our volunteers at RVH, and for giving us their feedback and taking their time. So to find out more about some of the friendly faces volunteering here at RVH, I'd like to welcome our first guest, Duncan Godfrey. Thank you, Duncan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a seat on our beautiful couch.
Feels like Johnny Carson show.
Yes. So you've been a volunteer for nearly 11 years, or maybe it's already been 11 years, and currently I think we can find you twice a week at the main entrance desk.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So before we dive into your role here at RVH, I heard you have a unique hobby in your spare time of graveyard hopping. So if you can tell us a little bit about that. I think, oh no, security's still here. So depending on the answer to that question,
right,
is our next step in what we do here.
I didn't hear what you mean.
No. So your spare hobby in your spare time is graveyard hopping?
Well, graveyard hopping and family tree history.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have over almost 3,000 names in my family tree history, yes.
That's amazing.
And I've visited cemeteries all over the United States and Canada.
So you've been all over going through those graveyards, finding your family tree?
Finding the gravestones that are part of my family tree, yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what initially drew you to volunteer here at RVH?
My late wife, she had to have therapy on her ankle, and I used to watch the volunteers, and I thought, well, I'll give it a try. Yeah. And I did. And she said I wouldn't, when I got the job that I have got, she said I wouldn't last a week. And I think I'm in my 23rd year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so,
now, why did she think, and why did she thought you wouldn't last a week?
I had an attitude problem.
Yeah, an attitude problem. Well, as somebody else who also shares an attitude problem, I can relate. Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to have other people tell you what to do. So we often have volunteers who get as much as they give. So what do you think is your greatest reward working as a volunteer here?
One of my greatest rewards was I used to do tours of the hospital in the old section. And I took a group of people, people around that came from either Panama area or South America. And they were so generous with me, and I still have the letter at home.
Oh, that's awesome.
From her, yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
And that was, I think, one of my, and meeting the people that I do meet and work with.
Yeah.
Are fantastic.
Yeah, I hear they're a good bunch.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So we're really lucky to have you here, and I wanted to say happy Volunteer Week to all our volunteers. Happy appreciation. We all appreciate you, especially because we worked for a couple of years there without you.
Right.
And I know the teams struggled with that. So it's really great to have you back. And before we wrap up our little talk here, is there anybody has any questions for Duncan before we give him the hook off the stage? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, Lori.
I'm just gonna, it's so
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Duncan. Appreciate you coming up here.
Okay.
And
I thank you for having me up here.
well, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jim.
Okay. So there's another group of volunteers some of you may be aware of who actually may have had a contribution to the stage here today, who go above and beyond and work tirelessly to raise millions of dollars for the health of the center and the patients we serve, and that's our RVH Auxiliary. In fact, they were the original founding members. It was the original founding members who we owe our roots to. And I just want to point out, Lisa, like the original members funded 100% of the cost of the hospital build. So I don't know why you're not raising the billions of dollars. Now, maybe it was only $1,100, but I'm sure like that was a big amount back then in the 1800s. So if you'd like to, I would like to invite Lise McCourt, our RVH Auxiliary President, to tell us more about the incredible group of volunteers. Lise.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, welcome.
Well, thank you. I got
notes.
I can't speak without notes.
Oh,
I brought my notes.
Good. Well, apparently I can't either.
There you go. There you go.
So obviously the auxiliary's been around for a long time and has a rich history. Do you want to share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, the RVH Ladies Auxiliary, sorry guys, was founded in 1897 by 4 women who decided that they wanted to collect supplies and equipment and started raising money for RVH, and that was the 13-bed hospital up on High Street. Now we've come a long way since then. Over the years now, the auxiliary has raised over $16 million for RVH and for patient care, so really exciting. Now, as you all know, RVH has celebrated its 125th, but it's also our 125th anniversary. So to commemorate that occasion, we produced this beautiful book, and it details really the rich history of the auxiliary for the last 125 years and all the contributions that we've made to RVH. And our historian, Jean McGinley, who's in the room, has kept meticulous records on the fundraising and the work of the auxiliary for the last 125 years. So there's really some huge moments here. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for 125 years of service, Jean. Copies of these books are at the back of the room, and I really invite all of you to pick up a copy just to learn a little bit about the volunteers and the huge contribution that we've made to the hospital. So enjoy.
Thank you. So you mentioned the small figure of 60 million. How did you guys do that?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I think the 125-year-old should be exhausted.
Yeah. No, in addition to raising money, of course, for equipment and supplies that we do through different ways, we are always the first out of the gate for major campaigns. And since 1992, the auxiliary has raised $14.5 million for the major campaigns here at RVH. And I'm really excited to say that in last December, we actually gave a first installment of $1 million to the Keep Life Wild campaign. So 1 down, 4 to go. So we need some help. Now the auxiliary, as you may all know, we used to hold fundraising events in the hospital throughout the year. And we're really working hard on bringing some of those events back. We have Ashley Kennedy now, who is our staff member who will be planning the fundraising events, but the volunteers will still be involved. We have like the bake sales that you've seen, the Christmas bazaars, the Battle of the Barbecues. Next week, we have a silent auction coming up, which will be in this room. Team RVH has always stepped up to the plate to help the auxiliary, and I know that you will continue to be there. So I really appreciate your support.
Perfect. Is there any other ways we can help?
There is, absolutely. Of course, you may have heard about our community 50-50 draw, which I think is closing in on $200,000, I think we'll have by the time we get there. Since the first draw in December of 2020, we've now given out more than $3 million in prize money. So that, of course, is wonderful for the winners, but it's huge for RVH because that will help us pay off this $5 million pledge. And of course, the first half of that pledge is going to the NICU. And I had the privilege of touring the NICU a couple of years ago, and I tell you, they need that money. They need the renovations in there. And another way that the staff can help is, this may be a little controversial, because we all love our Timmy's coffee, but I just encourage all of you once in a while to buy your coffee and muffins at the Cafe Royale, because all of the proceeds from our businesses stay here at the hospital. They don't go to any corporate office. They go towards our pledges. And we also have, of course, the most beautiful gift shop in Ontario. So I encourage you to come and look at what we have. By supporting our auxiliary businesses, you're supporting RVH. So I just encourage you all to do that. You know what, it goes without saying that the volunteers are thrilled to be back, and we're happy that the staff are happy to have us back. When we left in March of 2020, I think we were over 750 volunteers. Now we're down to 200 and some.
I think we have over close to 300 that have gone through the orientation, and 200 something.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
we're slow. Yeah, but we're getting there. And I know that Volunteer Resources is working tirelessly to get us back up to where we were pre-pandemic days. So the auxiliary, I can say, we will always be there to support RVH. We will always be fundraising because we always need money. And this $5 million pledge, we will pay off in record fashion. And you know what? And we'll continue to be there to raise money for RVH. So
thanks, Lise. Does anybody have any questions for Lise? Oh, Stephanie. So the people online can hear you.
Before the pandemic, the traveling cart was always welcomed. They brought the coffee around.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's realistic daily, but Mondays may be a good day to roll out the traveling cart.
Yeah, we've been actually talking about the coffee cart starting to go around, and I think that we're just waiting for some of the restrictions to ease up a little bit so that we could get into different departments, but that's in the plans. Yeah, good.
So I do want to thank the gift shop, and particularly Ashley.
Not this.
For today's, so all the items you see here, except for the chair and the couch, of course, and Lise and I. Although she made, like for $4 million, she may be sold, are available to purchase at the gift shop. So thank you so much. It looks so beautiful. Even this table apparently is from the gift shop. So I would have thought of the gift shop and think it's not for sale, but it is. So you could buy this at the gift shop. So thank you very much. And thank you, Lise. We really appreciate your chatting with us. Okay. Now, okay, a little birdie told me that you sponsor part of the town hall raffle today, and that I want to thank you for your generosity for that, and always stepping up to the plate whenever we need a cool prize to draw for. So before I let you go, if you can, I believe you have a special presentation to hand out today.
We do have a special presentation. It's the RVH team, RVH 50-50.
Woo!
So, do we have a Catherine Lumley in the room? There you go.
Oh, she's here. Awesome.
Come on up. Get in the middle. There we go.
Thanks, very boss.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
awesome. Congratulations. The real Jack. Congratulations. Thanks to the team at 21 Place. I spent a good job. I mentioned all the items you see here. So, for appreciation, we have other groups to celebrate. You're going to see that. That's happening the week of May 8th, and Dr. Day, but apparently, RVH to wonderful RVH professional staff. I just looked at Andrew did not have a good answer. Why? And I said, is it Monday? No, it's Tuesday. So, so that's why we're celebrating that day.
And so I thought today would be a great opportunity to hear from Ryan Smith, registered nurse in imaging emergency department, and Dr. Derek Benjamin, chief of medicine, about their experiences here as part of Team RVH. So they both get to come up and join the couch here. They both begrudgingly volunteered to be victims today. The Donna wore you down. So starting with you, Ryan, thanks for joining us today. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a fun fact that we don't know that is still like PG that we might want to know.
So I've been here at RVH since July 2013. So it's almost 10 years this year, which is kind of fun. I started as a float and then I took a full-time line in the emergency room. I was a resource nurse there for the last 3.5 years. And just recently moved to imaging, so it's just been a couple of weeks. But.
Nice. And
the fun fact. Fun fact was there's a meme that my wife likes to bug me about that says something like, when you turn 35, you either get really into World War history or into smoked meats, and I've dived really deep into smoked meats. About 8 months ago, I bought a commercial-sized smoker. So
oh my God.
We still don't know where we're going to park it. So. Yeah.
So do you bring it in to share at work, or what do you do?
Well, I think a lot of my colleagues are hoping that I do. Yeah.
Yeah. After you've gone through all the learning curves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So it's nice to see you. I think we just saw each other last week at MAC. And I know that I hear we see you a lot around the health center, and then maybe even in a Star Wars mask. I have not seen that myself.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at RVH, because I hear it's not very much. But,
no.
You know.
Mainly what I do is try not to get caught.
Yeah. So. Run through the halls as fast as you can.
I'm originally from Nova Scotia, so I spent a good deal of my youth under the water, scuba diving.
Nice.
So that was certainly one of my loves growing up. Came to Ontario for residency and loved it here and ended up at Barrie. So I was brought in 2002 to set up and develop the nephrology program here. Nice. So that was my first love and what I originally came for. And then along the way, I got asked to do the chief of medicine job, which has been very busy for the last few years for some reason. And so what we do with that, we work with the physicians of the medicine department. We work on recruiting, on making sure we're keeping things up to appropriate standards, developing of programs as well, and dealing with things that we're not expecting to along the way, such as COVID, which took a while. And I am a huge Star Wars fan, and so yes, I do appear in Star Wars costumes on a regular basis. You never really know when it's going to happen.
I'm sure there's photographic evidence of that. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that fun fact. So Ryan, working on the front lines apparently can be exciting but rewarding, but also very difficult. So what do you find most challenging about your role?
So my current role, I've only been in it for a couple of weeks, so I'll speak about the emergency role.
Do you have any complaints about Heather? Like, do you
have
Because we can make
she's
her
on
leave.
top of the world right now, so it's a good time.
We can make her leave and we can talk about her.
No. Yeah, just dealing with the high volumes, making sure that everybody's got an appropriate spot and seen at an appropriate time, stuff like that. So yeah, it was a challenge for sure.
Nice, thank you. So similar to you, you dropped a few hints there about maybe like COVID disrupted what you thought was going to be a like easy chief department. So what has been most challenging for yourself and your other professional colleagues in our post-pandemic world?
I think the most challenging thing is trying to make people understand we're not in the post-pandemic world yet.
I don't know what you're talking about. The government already stopped the funding.
It's over. And you know, if you work at a store and you get COVID, you still go to work and you still do what you want to do. And but if you work in the hospital and you get COVID, you're not allowed to come to work. Yeah. And so that human health resource and trying to get things replaced and get people replaced. On last Friday, there was a bunch of us scrambling to get new docs in to cover for a doc that was off because they had gotten COVID. And so that's probably the biggest thing right now, is just being able to sort of manage that expectation for our own staff and making sure that everything is there. And we've done a huge job with recruitment, but we still are just sort of breaking even as far as those people that have retired and that have moved to other places, because we are a big busy center and some people want it a little bit more low key. And so that's probably been the biggest struggle, but we continue to recruit. We've got new docs coming in this summer. And so, you know, I keep telling relief's coming, relief's coming. I think every leader says that to people. Yes, there is going to be improvement. So, but that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Nice.
Other than figuring out, and I don't know why we've had COVID this long and we still haven't figured out how to get hand sanitizer out of one of those squirt bottles without getting it on your clothes. It still shoots everywhere.
It's not possible. So what's been the most rewarding thing about your career and being part of Team RVH?
I would say two things. As I mentioned, the first thing that I was brought in for was to develop the nephrology program, and just a huge amount of pride around the team, a lot of personal investment and sacrifice for myself to actually become a regional center for nephrology. That just was really one of the most exciting things of my career, to finally get that. The next one is relating to COVID. And people may not realize this, but we were the third, we ranked third in the province for taking out-of-town patients. And, you know, the number one was down in Vaughan Cordalucci, which was an empty hospital, so they kind of get a head up and just take everyone in. So that's not fair. And then number two was the Halton Hills Oakville Hospital, which is really not one hospital, but 3 hospitals. So it's a big, huge corporation. And then there was us. And that's huge. You know, we joked that we are Carpathia, which, if you don't know, that was the first ship on site on the Titanic sinking. So that was the first ship to come and rescue survivors. And so it's really incredible. And when you look at what happened, we took over 200 people. 200 patients, and the attitude that everyone had, Team RVH, from the doctors that would get a call from me saying, hey, I need you to take 2 patients, they're coming from this hospital, you're going to get contacted. And then later on in the day I might say, I need you to take another patient, they're coming from this hospital. Everyone had a great attitude, everyone worked hard. And then you go to the nurses receiving the people, and how they did to accept these patients, get them settled in, talk with the families, very distressful for the families, and they were there for them. You move to the cleaners that are getting these rooms done at a rapid pace in order to make it available so that these patients can come up and get settled in. Just every staff, like it really touched everyone in the hospital. Directors that we worked with, Tracy Fletcher, for example, helping to maneuver and get people in, going around, seeing, well, what can we handle? What can we take? Yeah, you know what? We can take 5 more. It really was an absolute fantastic joy to see how we functioned as a hospital with a team approach to try and accommodate these patients who were not from our area, but are still Ontarians, and to bring them in. And the other part of it that really gave me a lot of pride is that I was involved in a chief, of course everyone has to have social media, a chief social media group with Toronto. And so I got a little window into how everybody does things. And as this whole process was developing, we really looked at what's the standard that everybody's doing. And so if you've got someone that's on high flow oxygen, are they in your ICU or are they up on the floor? And when an ICU is full, is it full with intubated patients or does it have high flow oxygen plus intubated patients? And so what we found is that RVH's standard was consistently meeting and the same as what the university hospitals do.
Nice.
Whereas other community hospitals would have their optiflows in the ICU, we always had them on the floor. Our message to our sending hospitals was just get the patients here alive and we will take it from there.
Right.
And so in these groups, when I saw people were saying, well, we only want people that are on 4 liters of oxygen, or no, they have to have this or they have to have that. RVH was, you know what, we're going to take anybody, just get them to us and we'll take over from there. And it was really prideful to see just what a standard. We always knew that it was good care, great care at RVH, but to see that that care matched what the university hospitals were doing, that I think was absolutely fantastic. That's probably one of my biggest moments of pride of Team RVH with how we responded.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Well, what about you, Ryan? Can you follow that up?
Oof, that was way too thought out.
What's your career highlight or standout moment? It better be really significant.
Yeah, not that significant. No, you know, coming from an emerge background, it's always the highlights are usually when you save somebody. What's interesting though is that oftentimes if we bring somebody back, we typically then ship them somewhere else, whether that's to the OR or to the ICU. And we don't always get the follow up on how well they did afterwards. And there was one gentleman that had a heart attack actually in triage, and we were able to get him back. We shipped him to South Lake, spent about a month and a half in the CCU, and then came back to us on the CCU floor. And what was made it kind of a highlight is that the family came down specifically and asked to meet the emerge staff that was on that day. And it was really cool because he was a younger-ish guy, you know, mid 40s kind of thing. And so then we actually got kind of follow-up photos of him, you know, at his daughter's high school graduation and stuff like that. So it was really, really cool because oftentimes in emerge, we don't typically see them leave the hospital recovered and feeling better. So that's definitely a highlight for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. Is there any audience questions for our 2 superstars today? We have a very shy audience. Well, any questions online? Oh, there's a question in the front here.
It's not really a question. I just want to say thank you for all of the physicians and nurses. I know the pandemic's not over, and throughout the pandemic, about the first little bit, you were heroes, and then it sort of waned off a bit in some people's eyes, but not in Team RVH's eyes. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for that, or comments? Good. Well, thank you very much for giving in to Donna's relentless harassment and agreeing to come on with me today. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time to share, and hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So just another few little updates. It's important that we all hear, especially the senior leadership teams, hears about from all members of Team RVH, and we'll get a little bit of a question period too, if we have some. Yeah, we have some time, because I really want to know what's working and what's not working, and your ideas for the future of RVH. So with that in mind, I'm happy to announce we are embarking on our new strategic plan. As you know, the one that we have right now is this 2023 is the final year. So engagement is actually going to begin in May. So our comms team will be helping to drive that. And we're really looking for all members of Team RVH to get involved. Your voice is important. We want to hear where we're going in the future and where you see us going. We want to hear some ideas about short-term solutions like parking. And also as a reminder, the parking survey closes tomorrow at midnight. So you haven't already, please weigh in. And we just want to say, like, Ben and I took bets about how many people would respond, and I'm almost winning right now. So I just need a couple more 100 people to respond to the survey, and I win the bet. So if you haven't, please weigh in. And for those who are watching online, I just want a reminder too that to watch the recording in the future, send your first and last name to contests@rvh.on.ca for a chance to win a $15 gift card. Just before we go to hand out a gift, because they'll leave if we give them a gift now. I want to see if anybody has any questions about anything about RVH, what's happening, what's not happening, any comments or suggestions. There's no planted questions, I said. We want to hear from you what you have to say. And I know you think you might be fired if you ask the wrong questions, but I promise here on film that nobody will get fired for asking a question, except Jason maybe. But that's Jason's promise, nobody else's. So if you have any questions or comments or want to let me know anything, now's your chance. I do really want to hear what you have to say. If you're too shy, you can message me after, but you can be brave and get up now and say a comment. I'd love that too. There's extra points. When we do your performance review, it will be noted that you asked the question. Anything online? Oh my God, I'm just failing as a CEO because nobody wants to ask any questions. Oh, there's a question in the back, Pam. Thank you, Pam. I love you, Pam. You're my favorite.
It's Dana. Pam's right there.
Oh, Dana, I'm at the back. Oh my God.
Okay, I know what my performance appraisal is going to look like. So I think, like, I know the answer to this, but I feel like my peers and all the people I closely work with may not know. And so the Regional Pandemic Response Unit was a wonderful asset and resource to the region. Mm-hmm. However, it's a temporary structure. And we all know that there will come a time when we have to transition. And so I think maybe it's just good for the rest of Team RVH to know that we're working in collaboration with Ontario Health to see what the next steps are for the PRU.
Sure. I'm going to answer Pam though, because she's sitting up here.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Maybe I should wear my glasses more often. So the PRU, yes. So we had a great talk as a senior leadership team about it. And we want to think about our strategy for the future. Never in the strategic plan was ever mentioned that we would have a field hospital in our parking lot. That was a response to a point in time of having a pandemic. And when we think about now, we spend a lot of our mental energy thinking about what can we do with the PRU? We can do this or that. We know our master planning requires construction in that place. We know in the short term that is taking away over 100 parking places when we need a few of those. So right now we're transitioning when we're having talks with Ontario Health, and it's my hope and desire that before the end of the year, the PRU would be gone. All the staff from in there will be transitioned into the hospital to support the beds inside the hospital. Hopefully we'll be adding some beds inside the hospital with some of the funding to transition in here. But yes, so hopefully one day we will have a ceremony out in the yard where we will all wave goodbye to the PRU as it drives away, however that happens. And yes, there's always something we could do with it, but there's a million other things that RVH is focused on, and that's just sort of a distraction and not in our long-term planning. So, its end is imminent. It's just the going through the motions of the bureaucracy about getting that approval and taking it down and moving on. So I know it'll be a sad day for all, but we'll have we'll burn something in a barrel beside it, a piece of it or something like that. So thank you, Dana. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, I was watching Pam because she has a nice bright pink jacket on. So all I could think was, Pam has a nice jacket. Pam has. Oh, God. Anybody else have a question, or is Dana my only favorite because like Pam just fell off the list again because it wasn't her after all? No one? Oh, Donna, you don't count, for God's sakes.
This is not a planted question. We've noticed a lot of hospitals are dropping their mask mandates, and I'm wondering when RVH might do that so we can get these horrible things off our face. I mean, we're enjoying it now, but day to day.
It's bugging your lipstick, eh?
Little bit. Yeah, it's a waste.
So something we had seen in the news, I think Hamilton made masking optional in all the sort of non-clinical areas. So like unless you're in the emerge or something and you're symptomatic, like the staff are obviously still wearing, but patients and visitors coming in don't have to mask unless they're symptomatic. And that would be the same for all the other clinical areas. So it's definitely the next step. Nobody in Simcoe County is doing it yet, and we were actually, I think, the first ones to really say we're not doing it in the non-patient facing spaces. So we thought it was at the time too big of a jump to go from transition of always having a mask to like a free-for-all. Let's try this for a little while and see what happens and what the problems are with patients or anything else, or if we but eventually, hopefully before the end of the year, we will evolve to that model. Because I know it's, when you walk off the property where there's no COVID off the property and you don't have to mask, it's a little bit of cognitive dissonance there. And it's annoying for the patients and visitors. And I've found personally that when patients and visitors are annoyed, they usually take it out on the staff. I don't know if any of you have found that, but I found that's usually what happens. But also in places where we do see a lot of symptomatic patients coming in, like our merge or certain clinics, we'll want to keep them in those areas. So this opportunity trials us to let us see where is the areas where we think we still need it and where the areas are where we don't. So and getting back to a somewhat normality in our day-to-day work environment. So, oh, we have an online question. This is so exciting. We might run out of time for questions.
Okay, so we have 2 online questions. I'll ask one first. The parking thought exchange really highlights the need for a multi-level parkade. Thoughts on this? Mm-hmm.
There's so many thoughts. This is such a touchy subject. We know that we need a multi-level parkade, but there's a lot of anti-parkade groups out there. But the reality is, and I think there's a thought that people will just, when there's no parking, people will just get to work some other way, biking. So if any of you live in Aurelia or Midland, start biking. I am personally not going to, but the rest of you should. That will solve the problem. So it is part of our capital plan. We don't spend a lot of time highlighting it when we do our capital plan. You will see it's not even on the pictures because it distracts the conversation when we're dealing with funders or government bodies. All they want to talk about is the parkade and not the fact that we have to add all these clinical programs and need to raise millions of dollars. So parkades aren't funded by the government. So that's self-funded. Which, that's why you pay for parking, because we fund those type of things and pavement and everything else that operates a parking lot. So it will happen, and it must happen when we add on the big addition, because we would simply not, you're already like a Christmas mall parking lot out there now, depending on what time of day you come in. So when we add on those additional, we will have to have a parkade. So there will be one. It probably costs, how much did 100 million? It costs 100 million to build a parkade. So that's the initial estimate. So it's why we're not slapping it up right now, is because of that. So we just need to make a budget about how we're going to do that. Unless you all want to pay $200 a week for parking, we just have to work out a plan to how we do that. But it is needed, and we will have it. And we have the thought, there's no easy solutions for parking, and which is why we put the thought exchange out to get some feedback, but also tell you parking lots cost $1 million a year to run. When you're talking about repairs, the maintenance cost to the snow plowing and removal, and you'd be surprised that if you repair pavement, that's a couple $100,000 right there. So it's expensive to expand and do things too. So, but we know we need it because everybody is coming from a long way. So next question.
So ask and you shall receive. We actually have several questions, but I don't think we have enough time for all of them. So I'll ask just one more. And we do have a commitment. We will get back to people with answers within 24 hours. So we'll make sure that we follow up with the answers to the rest of the questions, but you opened a floodgates. There's lots. There is a question about staff recruitment. So they want to know, how are new staff recruitment initiatives going?
Probably Dara is a better person to ask that question to, or Tanya if they're here. And I don't. Oh, are you here, Dara? Did you want to? I think there's lots of initiatives underway. Dara, what is this, week 4? Okay. Tell us how you're solving all the problems, Dara.
Good afternoon. My name is Dara McCutcheon, and I'm our brand new Vice President of People Experience and CHRO. I am very brand new. Recruitment is really top of mind. As we know, there is a health human resources shortage. A lot of focus. We've had the ED job fair recently to help support and focus in on where we need to go to really ensure that we're attracting candidates. We also need to really focus on retention. So these are top of mind. We're working through some key strategies. Our externs program is also another really important initiative. Recently, I think we brought in close to 100 people. I've been talking to professional practice. And these are all really important initiatives. We know as we bring in students and that they're able to ladder their career, that they will actually stay within Team RVH. And so bridging them to HFOs or into RN roles, and professional practice is really working very diligently in ensuring that we're able to retain all of those students that are coming forward. And so there are a lot of initiatives coming forward. We do still have a lot more work to do. And if you do have any ideas or advice to me, please feel free. My last name is not the easiest, so I do apologize. If you would have, if our email addresses were based on your first name, I would probably be the only Dara there, but I'm sure we'll be able to get that out to everyone, but please feel free to reach out to us, because it really will take all of us in order to be able to solve and stabilize our health human resources at this time.
Thanks, Dara. So really, yeah, the retention is probably the most important issue, because we wouldn't have to hire as many if we could keep. So really our focus is on the vision of the future, and our strat plan is going to focus on that as well. We want this to be RVH is a really high performing organization. We want to stay that way. We want to make sure that you're looking forward when you get up in the morning to coming to work, that you value working here, and that this is a place you want to stay. So, and have fun at the same time while you're at work. So hopefully we can create that together over the period of time. Do I have to move on to do a draw? I'll take one more. Give me a really controversial one. No.
Sure.
Oh no.
We have a couple. No, I'll ask you a question. Someone's wondering if there's a possibility to plan for a daycare in the future at RVH.
Yeah.
They said that they think the PRU might be a good place for it, but do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't think the PRU would meet the regulations. So, and right after I answer this question, we're going to draw for the prize. So daycare is my dream and vision for the future. I know when, I was working in a hospital, I had 3 little kids. It was a nightmare to try to get to the daycare by the allotted time or get the charge per 5 minutes for being late. And I think that would be a really great retention issue. So we need to partner with somebody. We need to figure those logistics out. It's not an easy thing to do, but it wouldn't be us running the daycare. We'd find a partner who's already licensed to do that, and we'd somehow subsidize those parts. So that is something I think it would be a great. I've always thought, and even Jason mentioned to me yesterday about even elder care. What can we do around that as well? So those are things that really, when we talk about valuing staff, like how can we move forward with some of those initiatives? So I think it's a great idea, and hopefully we can materialize that. Yeah. Okay. And there's other questions there that we're going to answer online and circulate around. But before we go, if you held on to the tickets that you had, oh, I need to put my glasses back on. No, I want to read it. Oh. And if there's somebody who already left, well, too bad. We'll draw another one. So the number is 370-5114. Oh, did I see hand go up? Oh, I put my glasses up again. 5114. All right, woo! Oh, sponsored by the auxiliary. Congratulations. So that's it for today, folks. And our next town hall is May 11th, same time, same place. Bring your in-person questions with you. Thanks, everybody.